Well, it is the third annual Sharpe Showdown here in Pierce, South Dakota. But first, it was the National Walleye Tour at Lake Sharpe, and we've got the winner here, Bobby Crow. Bobby, thanks for
Thank you.
taking time for us. I know you got to be wiped, man. You got to be.
It was. This was a tough week, just mentally and physically. This is a tough fishery right now.
It is
compared to what it normally is. It's tough.
Well, you got the spawn, you got the weather, and I brought this up a little earlier too. And I don't know, if you and Sheldon Meitinger is in the studio audience here too. So Sheldon, thanks for bringing Bobby to us here. We do appreciate that. But you look at low pressures associated with rain and clouds, right? So Thursday we had this cloudy, rainy day, but pressure was high. It was 30.2. Today, 30.3. So in my mind, and I'm not a professional, but I do believe in some pressure. Do you let pressure bother you at all, or do you do like the rest, just get out and fish and deal with it?
Well, basically, I mean, everybody looks at it, but in the outcome of the whole deal is we got to get out and fish anyway. Right. So it don't really emphasize on what, I mean, because you're gonna make your changes on the water anyway, so you can't just before the day starts go, oh, I'm gonna go here because of this or that, or and I think the biggest deal out here was just the up and down water temperature. I mean, we were having a 7 to 8 degree water temperature change every day.
Well, and honestly, I would say that it's because of Mother Nature. She cooled things down again here. She's bipolar, right? Because today was a relatively decent day, but then you look at the fluctuation in Lake Sharpe. We're down 3 feet, we're up 3 feet, we're down 3 feet, we're up 3 feet, and you've got to deal with that. The fish respond differently with water coming up and going down. So it's super tough. And honestly, this is how many, 20 some years, because I think you go back to 2007 was FLW on Lake Erie. You finished third. I'm trying to remember who finished first. Anyway, you beat Tommy Scarless and you beat John Gilman. So, you've been fishing hard a long time. Sheldon, who's here, he was fishing PWT 2006, took second. Did you have a couple of fifth places too there, right, Sheldon? So, and then we're talking, 19, 20 years ago. Has I was going to ask, has fishing changed? So that was a stupid question because it's changed immensely.
Well, when we were talking about that the other day, how when we first started, I think walleye populations everywhere were a lot better than now. And, it made for fishing, fishing was so much easier. You tried to find, as a tournament guy, you tried to find fish somewhere where nobody else was, and it wasn't the idea of getting better fish. It was the idea that, the PWT where it was 3-day tournaments. So you wanted fish that you wouldn't run out of. So you didn't go to community holes. You tried to find that it didn't have to be the best bite, but you had to be good enough that you knew you could last for 3 days. I mean, and me personally, I loved the 3-day tournaments. It was, I think it brought out the best fishermen in everybody because a guy that can put it together for 3 days made a lot of changes, a lot of moves, a lot of decisions that, you don't in a single or 2-day tournament because like if you just took this tournament 3 days, we had to fish tomorrow, I would be scratching my head going, I don't know what direction to go in.
And now watch tomorrow, we start the showdown and boom, someone comes in with another 21-pound bag.
Oh yeah. Right? And it could happen.
It very well could. And like you said, anybody can win a tournament. Anybody can win a tournament in 1 day.
Oh yeah.
Not a 2-day, I'm just talking about a 1-day tournament. And I'm sure that's probably Target Walleye, Chris Filane or somebody trying to get a hold of you to do an interview for them. So we're glad that I don't want to brag that we're the first. Yeah, right. But we're glad to have you. So your history and the way you used to fish, back then compared to today, obviously you're scoping, right? You're using or aren't you at all?
I've been into the scoping deal. Here I didn't do any scoping. These fish were, I mean, yes, I tried, but mostly the scope here was just another utensil. Like I tell everybody, I run a 360, I run the scope, and 99% of the time I'll see my fish on my 360, and then I'll go over and scope them. So I can cruise way faster than everybody. They're paddling around trying to, as long as they aren't suspended fish. And I can cruise with my 360 and go, oh, they're right there. And I can set up on them with my, but out here, these fish, man, you'd set up on a fish and that thing would be doing 100 miles an hour somewhere else. They were just, it seemed like they were just moving all the time.
Well, and so the 360, there, a lot of people just kind of discount that or disregard it, or don't they just got to go right to forward facing sonar. But you have in a basin type of lake, 360 is magic. I brought my 360 out here and hit a wahi, and it killed me because of the undulation. It just, you've got points and bars and fingers and to keep things straight. But out here, you can fish basin areas and keep an eye on fish. And that 360 here, again, it gives you a good representation of the bottom. You can tell how big a fish is. Whether it's, you got a small dot, you got a bigger. So you could, maybe you're not going to dial it in, but perch, walleye, must
basically the 360 is side imaging on steroids.
Right. It's radar.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's a good unit. And like me, I use everybody's unit. I mean, I got just about every unit in my boat because everybody has their piece of the action that's very good. So, I try to, I'm a fisherman. I'm not worried about that part as much as, I want all my utensils.
Right. Yeah, and those utensils are so important. I had a conversation with someone earlier today. They were talking about forward-facing sonar, and that's all they needed. I'm like, if you have side imaging, and I just did an episode on my In Through the Outdoors and called it Side Matters, because side imaging matters. Oh, right. I mean, it's a huge tool. You really can tell the bottom of the lake with side imaging versus forward-facing sonar. Oh, yeah. Right? Forward-facing sonar gives you the movement, and it might tell you've got weeds or you've got rocks or you've got something of that nature. But to really pick it apart, that picture from above, inside, or 360 is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's and you gotta. I feel like you need all of them to put the whole puzzle together. But there is the 360 is a great unit for what you use it for, and even your side imaging. I mean, everybody. I actually think Lowrance probably has one of the better side imagings, but that's my opinion. But so I try to have a piece of everybody's just because I like certain objects and I want to be able. That's 99% of fishing anymore is you better know where they're at.
Yeah, you have to practice. Scott Johnson was in here tonight and talked about getting FFS and wanting to practice with it. You can't just own it and turn it on. No, you got to practice with it, right? No matter what you have got to use it, and it's huge. And I know one more quick question because we're getting here a little long, and I know you got other things to do and places to go. But I know Brett McComas and Chris Flane from Target Walleye are going to ask you, what did you use to win it? So what was on the other end of the line, and what did you have for a rod and a reel?
I used Iowa reels, St. Croix rods, and I threw swim baits that's kind of my gig. I throw swim baits about 200 days a year. I live on the Columbia River and we throw a lot of swim baits, but
big ones.
But here I was throwing Yamamoto's and some Yums and some just shields. Mostly I wanted stuff that was really a real white pearly swim bait,
right? And a little more finessey, little short, 2-3 inches.
And to be honest, I threw
some longer ones,
some 4-5s. I threw some 4.5 inch stuff. That there was days the fish really reacted to it compared to the smaller stuff. But it seemed like as the tournament went on, it went to the smaller stuff. I think they seen a lot of